Just tell me what you remember about that process. So you were making lime, and where was this? This was in Pennsylvania?
In the home, where I grew up in Pennsylvania. Yes.
And what years would this have been?
It would have been the 1920s and part of the 1930s.
Wow. So all those years, you and your family had to make lime for the soil.
It didn't have to be done every year, but it did, the influence of it did run out, so it had to be replaced.
Mm.
And now the years I gave you are a little too early because I was in the 1920s. I was in
Right.
I was in common school.
Right. Right.
Let's make that the
So it was 1930s?
30s and part. Well, up until I was drafted in 1942.
1942. You were drafted, yeah. So the first step was you had to go and get the stone, right?
Yeah, and I neglected to explain that it had to be in pieces that we could handle.
Yeah.
And that was done by dynamite
Really?
and drilling.
Were you the one
No.
doing the explosives?
The owner, the man
Okay.
who sold the limestone, prepared it, and the pieces would be anything from the size of a baseball. There'd be a few pieces the size of that, but most of them were somewhat smaller. Because specific gravity of limestone is fairly high. You know that.
So once you had the limestone, how did you get it back to the house? By truck?
My team and wagon.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that it was a major accomplishment in my mind.
Yeah.
Because it was one of the high hills. Had to climb it and down the other side to get to the farm.
With the horses and the cart and everything.
Yeah.
Wow. Once you got the limestone, the bricks that you could handle, the blocks, to your farm, what was the next step?
The next step was to drive up to not quite to the woods. There's an area that levels off somewhat, and it's pasture, but not real good pasture. And beforehand, we had prepared a space about 20 by 20. It was square, and had plowed the sod, removed the sod, and in that square area had stacked old fence rails, anything that would burn, and then the pieces of limestone had to be placed on that, a layer of lime, then a layer of coal, and so on.
Where did you get the coal?
Coal was pretty common in that area, and it didn't cost very much. And it just high sulfur, but that for burning lime, that didn't bother.
Right.
That was discovered later, I think. That
so how did you light all this on fire? I mean, you started a fire, you had matches?
In the center of this mound, you had to place a chimney, made of any type of old boards, and they were pretty common. And but it had to be covered with this soil and sod that you had plowed around it. Then the the chimney, possibly a foot square, and would be filled with old fence rails. Again, anything that would burn, and then with kerosene wasn't costly. But it was necessary. It poured several gallons of kerosene down the chimney.
That sounds kind of dangerous.
And then somebody would lean a ladder onto the mound and go up the ladder and drop it took more than a match.
Yeah.
Something, a stick that had been burning a while down the chimney, and it would be very hot for almost a week.
Really? Was there any safety concerns? The fire would spread, or an animal would fall into it or anything?
No. It was hot enough that it would took care of its own safety. Animals wouldn't venture.
Yeah. Okay. So after a week, is it still burning, or did you wait for the fire to go out?
It took maybe several days after that to cool down. Then it had to be uncovered and wait for the next rain, which is very important.
And what did the rain do?
The pieces of limestone had been so hot that they had lost their they were no longer
like solid?
Solid.
Okay.
That's true. They were full of cracks.
Yeah.
So the rain would make powder, white powder, out of that piece of limestone.
Wow. And then you went and collected the white powder, and that was the lime?
That was shoveled onto a wagon and taken to the fields and spread by shovel.
Wow. And was this a process you did once a season, if necessary, or would you do it multiple times in a growing season?
No, not, as I said, not every year, but you go from one part of the farm to another part and prepare it for growing alfalfa. That was the ultimate object.
Yeah, wow. How did you evaluate if the soil needed lime or not?
I'm not sure that they had the test that would be used now, pH and so
Right.
on. Most farmers had tried alfalfa, and it didn't didn't do it all well. So the county extension and State College, all recommended limestone. And
But you couldn't just go and buy lime powder.
not at that time.
You had to make it.
You had to make it, yeah.
Wow.
It was worth the effort.